Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. President Reagan, almost 30 years ago, in fact, said in 1988, the year that that Justice Kennedy was put on the Supreme Court, then Judge Kennedy, in 1988, President Reagan said, "Every day that passes with the Supreme Court below full strength impairs the people's business in that crucially important body." President Reagan realized in 1988, the year he left, the last year of his presidency, what President Obama realizes in 2016, the last year of his presidency, that an 8-person Supreme Court runs counter to our national interest and runs counter, frankly, to the intent of our founders, and especially as we modernize the Supreme Court. There's a reason the Supreme Court, for I believe 150 years, something like that, has had an odd number of justices. That is so they can make decisions. We saw the other day, we've seen a couple of times already since Justice Scalia's death, that the Supreme Court deadlocks. And when the Supreme Court deadlocks, it's as if the case weren't even heard. It also means that if there are 2 different district appellate cases, circuit cases that contradict one another, the Supreme Court would rule, as a referee would, to decide what will be the law of the land. When it's 4-4, the Supreme Court, the outcome, the result is as if there was no Supreme Court decision at all. So we have conflicting laws in different parts of the country. So you could live in Ohio and live under one set of rules and live a few miles away in Pittsburgh and have another set of rules. This prolonged vacancy as a result is damaging to our country's highest court. 50 cases remain on the docket for this term, and the Supreme Court likely is going to set a record for most tie votes. So 50 cases are for this term right now. And then when the court meets again, before, at least according to Senator McConnell, the Republican leader, before Judge Garland is considered for a vote, brought to a vote, if he ever is brought to a vote by Senator McConnell and the Republican leaders, there will be another whole set of issues that he won't be able to rule on. So we're really sentencing ourselves as a nation to a potential 4-4 vote on case after case after case, week after week after week, month after month after month, through 2 Supreme Court calendar years, for want of a better term. No term since 1990 has included more than 2 tie votes. A benchmark the court has now hit in a single week. Means we have no national standard on important issues, diminishes the important role the Supreme Court plays in our country. It's part of a pattern that's damaging the judiciary. Last year, the Senate confirmed just 11 federal judges, the fewest in any year since 1960, almost 6 decades. It's the fewest in almost 6 decades. Chief Judge Garland's qualifications are without question. The president really did reach across party lines, reached into the center aisle, perhaps, in choosing Judge Garland. He picked somebody that was significantly older as a nominee, something that most presidents don't want to do. They want to pick somebody in his or her 40s or early 50s so they have the opportunity, at least mathematically, the opportunity to serve more years. He picked somebody who had had Republican support in the past and has had glowing things said about him by people like the former Judiciary Republican Chairman, Senator Hatch. His qualifications are out without question. But in the end, the Senate has just said they don't want to do their job. The last time there was a vacancy in the Supreme Court for more than a year was during the Civil War, because we were in a Civil War. The last time that a Republican Senate ratified or confirmed a Democratic presidential nominee on the Supreme Court was 1895. This is a political party, this is a Senate that needs to do its job. And when I hear Senator McConnell first say he doesn't care, he's not going to do anything, he's going to wait till the next election. Well, we had an election. President Obama was elected for a 4-year term, not a 3-year term, not 3/5 of a term, but for a 4-year term, and he's doing his job. The Constitution says the president shall nominate and the Senate shall advise and consent. The Senate needs to meet with this nominee, as I will do tomorrow, meet with Judge Garland. The Senate needs to have hearings on Judge Garland, and the Senate then needs to bring him to a vote. The average Supreme Court nominee sitting on the court today. Of the 8, the average time was 66 days to confirm that nominee. This president still has close to 300 days left in his term. There's plenty of time to do that. The Senate simply, pure and simple, just needs to do its job. It's incredible to the country. It's incredible to all of us that really love this institution and think our government should work and does work most of the time, that senators are so dug in. Most of my colleagues Republican colleagues won't even meet with Judge Garland. Almost none of them, with a couple of courageous exceptions, have called for hearings. And I believe only 1 or 2 has said that we should vote on his confirmation. The country doesn't understand why Republicans are failing to do their jobs. It's important, election year or not, that the Congress do its job.